Hi everybody, before we look into price elasticity of demand and supply, shall we look at this question and how three students will illustrate the changes on the diagram differently to explain for the sharp increase in the price of the oil as mentioned over here. So I give you a second to read through the question, then we analyze the question and I will look at three different ways of representing the answer on the diagram by three students. So OPEC has recently put a restriction on the amount of oil supply in the market. So which is because of the restriction, there is a decrease in the supply of oil in the market. There is a decrease in supply. So on the other hand, because of the economic growth, there is a pressure on the demand for oil, and hence because of this, the demand for oil increases. So, a simple 10 marks question using economic analysis. This is the concept to be used, but clearly over here we are looking at demand and supply concept, and you have learned from the previous chapter. We know that the price is determined by the interaction of demand and supply. So the next part, account for the sharp increase in the price of oil. So this question is interested in at the price of the oil, and you have to use the changes, the events here to explain why the price of the oil will increase. So therefore, I will not be looking through the essay, but look at how three students will actually answer it differently. I have student A, student B, and student C. So shall we look at the first student, student A. Student A, after reading the question, they know that, oh, there is a decrease in supply. So it is a leftward shift of the supply curve. There is an increase in the demand for oil. It is a rightward shift of the demand curve. So what the student A will do is to show an increase in the demand for oil. So there is an increase in the demand for oil. Then I need to measure it correctly. Okay. Demand increases from D0 to D1. Then on the other hand, the supply decreases. So therefore, this is my supply curve. Supply decreases. Okay, I regret not using a proper ruler because I cannot find at this point of time. S0 to S1. So my initial equilibrium point is over here where S0 and D0 intersect each other. So therefore, this is my initial price level at P0. But after the decrease in the supply of oil and the increase in the demand of oil is reflected on the diagram, my new equilibrium point is at this point. So this is my new equilibrium point, and I will draw my new price level. So there is an increase in my price. Increase in price from P0 to P1. So this is how student A will show. Let me show you what student B will do. This is student B, the original demand and supply curve, and this is my original demand curve, D0, original supply curve, S0, my original equilibrium point, P0. So P0 over here. Similarly, there is an increase in the demand. So I want to show that there is an increase in demand. But at the same time, the student B is a little bit smarter. He actually looked through a question and say that there is a sharp increase. So in order to show the sharp increase, what student B did is to draw the extent of the shift of the curve by a larger amount. So this is my new demand curve from D0 to D1. And similarly, he will draw a larger extent of the supply curve, of the leftward shift of the supply curve from S0 to S1. And as such, since the question is asking for price, this is my new price level, and this is how I will show my increase in the price of oil from P0 to P1. And obviously, as compared to student A, it is a sharper increase, or rather, the increase in the price drawn on this diagram by student B is larger than the increase in the price by student A. So, in a way, it is answering the question, account for the sharp increase in the price of oil. However, what student C did is, knowing or what they learned about price elasticity, it is able to show how it can be reflected in the diagram by showing on the nature of the curve. Because the demand for oil is price inelastic, it is less responsive. The demand for oil is less responsive to the price, and hence my demand curve is steeper. This is my demand curve, D0. And supply of oil is price inelastic, which means to say that when there is an increase in the price of oil, the producer cannot increase the supply of oil to the market quickly. So therefore, it is not so responsive to changes in price. Therefore, the supply is also steeper. So this is how student C will draw the initial demand and supply curve, due to his knowledge of price elasticity of demand and supply, and therefore this is the equilibrium price level. Then after some time, because of the question asking, there is a decrease in supply, increase in demand. So what student C will do is to show an increase in the demand, which okay, this is my new demand curve from D0 to D1. And how about my supply curve? There is a decrease. So this is my supply curve from S0 to S1. And as such, where is my new equilibrium point? This is my new equilibrium point at P1. So this is how student C will draw a diagram, a steeper demand and supply curve, and therefore with the changes in the curve, the price of the oil will increase from P0 to P1, and it is a relatively sharp increase in the price of oil. So have a guess. After showing you the three students, student A, B, and C, which student do you think will score a higher mark? The answer is student C. Why? Because student C is able to use price elasticity of demand and price elasticity of supply to explain the nature of the curve that he has drawn here. So this is why student C, in a way, he or she will score a higher mark. So what is exactly price elasticity of demand and price elasticity of supply? So we will explore this later. Thank you.